So very gently close your eyes. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Dear Mother, Father, God, Divine, Infinite Spirit, Source of all that is, I thank you for this opportunity to gather once again to promote your word in our word, in our thoughts, our deeds, our actions. And I thank you for the presence of the angels, the archangels, the ascended masters, the Reiki masters, but most especially Master Jesus, Master Buddha, Master Katumi, Saint Francis, Saint Germain, Saint Gabriel, Saint Raphael, Saint Michael, the Blessed Mother, the Divine Feminine, Mary Magdalene, Moses, Metatron, Melchizedek, Kuan Yin, and Thoth. I ask that we be cleared, centered, aligned, balanced, and grounded, and that whatever come in for our highest good. I ask that we be clear. I also ask that we be connected to Metatron and his angelic team. And finally, for the shield and sword of Saint Michael, the Archangel, to protect our energy fields above, below, side to side, front to back, inside and outside, so that only the highest beings of light be allowed to enter. I ask all of this in the name of Jesus the Christ and in the name of I Am. And first, I'd like to welcome you. Just very grateful that I am here to do the things that I love to do, which is to share spiritual truth, that we have the ability to do this without fear of reprisal, without fear of, anybody knocking on our door and taking us away for any reason, whatever reason. So anyway, the 6th chakra, this is the series that I've done this year, is the chakras. And the 6th chakra is the brow chakra. And this is the chakra of intuition. And first and foremost, its color on all the chakra charts, it's always listed as indigo. If I ever see the color, I absolutely never see indigo. I see purple. So, and here I don't see purple on the crown, I see white. So, or lavender, like a very, very diluted purple. So anyway, we have, so we're going to start with the clairs. We're going to start with the everything, because the brow chakra is the chakra of intuition. And there are 7 clairs, and every single one of them has something to do with intuition, because every one of them is a French term, but I'm going to use the American version first. So we're going to start with clear seeing, which is clairvoyance. And clairvoyance is all of these clairs are available to you as you trust, as you become open to getting to accepting what's being given. You will be given more. That's the long and short of it. When anybody ever asks me, how do I increase my intuition? I always say, trust what's being given you. Clairvoyance is images that you're first going to see in your mind's eye. You might see a vision. I've had that happen to me several times where I actually physically see something outside of me, and it's like the room fades. There's nothing left but that one thing that I'm looking at. But most of the time, everything that you're going to see is going to be seen in your mind's eye. And those of you who are meant to be teachers, one of the things that you have will be looking to do as a teacher is also probably to give readings. And in giving readings, you're going to get a whole series of images appear in your mind. And sometimes you will get the meaning instantly, it'll come in as a download. And other times you won't. So, uh, but sometimes the person that you're given the reading to will supply the meaning to you. Um, I've had several instances of clairvoyance that were really kind of intriguing for me. One of them was when I was sitting at a restaurant, just kind of zoning out, waiting for a friend to show up. And as I sat there, the lights were a little bit on the dim side, so it wasn't very bright, and it was around supper time, but it was in the latter part of the year, so it was already kind of darkish out. And as I sat there and I looked at the oil tablecloth, it was a blue cloth, plain blue, but it had like red dots on it, and it had daisies. And all of a sudden, instead of the oilcloth, what I saw was plasma. The blue became flowing. It became a lot like a liquid, but it wasn't water. It wasn't a gel, but yet I knew it was liquid. The daisies became alive, and it looked almost like they were not a printed pattern. It almost looked like a real flower. They were pretty small. Everything doubled in size. And the little dots became like little balls, little red balls. So as I looked at that, and then I blinked my eyes, and there it is. I'm back into 3D. And then I blinked them again, and I'm back in this other dimension. And I kept doing that back and forth, back and forth. And the same thing happened to me when I was typing intently. I don't know what I was typing, but I can remember my concentration was so intense that two things happened. First, a blue band appeared around the perimeter of the computer, blue light, the same, like if you go by the uh, metro stations, and especially in the Tyson's Corner area, they have a whole series of blue lights. It's the exact same color that I saw around the rim of the computer. And then the keys on the keyboard doubled in size and lifted up, just became larger. It didn't look like anything was alive, but I knew I was in a different dimension. And then I blinked and I went back to 3D. Blinked again, I'm back in this other realm. And I continued to do that. Just a blink took me out of it, took me into it, took me out of it, took me into it. So don't, again, don't be afraid. And each time, the only thing that I can tell you that was similar between each situation was that I was concentrating very intently, with a mind that wasn't racing, wasn't filled with my to-do list, wasn't, any filled with anything like that. So anyway, that that was my example of clairvoyance, but I use clairvoyance in my readings every single time I give a reading, because with every reading that I get images and clairaudience. I get messages. So and that clairaudience is clear hearing. So clairaudience, it could be that you hear that and that little voice contradicts what somebody else is saying. That little voice gives you the ability to reach into truth, especially if somebody is lying. So just know that clairaudience, the example that I can give you of clairaudience is I had two different times where I heard the music of the spheres. And the music of the spheres is, my understanding of it is that it's out there. That music plays constantly. We're gifted with it when we're supposed to hear it. And I know the first time I heard it, I was awakened. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. And at that time, I think I was, um, it just, I woke up out of a deep sleep. And what I was listening to was what I thought somebody sitting in the driveway playing this magnificent music that just seemed and playing it at a very high volume. And I kept thinking, why would they do that? This is just going to wake everybody up. So of course I immediately go to the window, look through the blind. Nothing's there. There is no car. There is absolutely nothing. But yet this music continues, and it's extremely loud, and it's very heroic and everything. So the next day in meditation, when I finally I went back to bed, and when I finally got up the next morning and went into meditation, I said, what was that? Or who were they that was singing? Because by then I had heard of the music of the spheres, so I kind of knew what it was, but I didn't want to. I just felt like I needed an explanation for it. And what my guides told me was those were the guides of the people who fought in the French Revolution. And in other words, if any of you have seen Les Miserables, you know that, how that opening scene is when they start to fight, and you know that they are all killed and everything. So it wasn't the souls of those people, it was the guides of those people who fought in the French Revolution. And the only thing I had was how heroic it was. But anyway, the second time I heard it, it was in a musical presentation that one of my friends had invited us to, where she was singing in at a college attached to Catholic University by the Shrine of the Immaculate Conception. And so as I'm sitting there, and this time she wasn't singing at this point, she was off. But all of a sudden, again, I hear this magnificent music, and I start looking around me and looking toward the back and looking up front to see where is this coming from, because it had, it was like there was no evidence that this music should show up. And anyway, couldn't find the source. So at the end of the performance, there was four of us. There was the singer and three guests. I was one of the guests. So I was with two other friends. I turned to the person next to me at the end of the performance and I said, wasn't that music incredible? The one, and I described exactly where it showed up. And she looked at me kind of strangely and she goes, what music? And she didn't hear it. Neither did the singer, but the person sitting at the far end leaned over and agreed that the music was absolutely incredible. Two of us heard it, two of us did not. So I just, again, I felt that that was a real gift because my understanding from a gal who hears it all the time, that she never doesn't hear the music of the spheres. She says it plays constantly. So anyway, just wanted to share that with you. That's clairaudience, clear hearing. Clear tasting is clair gustance. So the word is gustance. And the how many times have you gone to a restaurant and somebody might say, or you might think, what do I have a taste for? And you kind of like go through your memory bank and think of what would really taste good to me right now. And and I think, and hopefully you're being guided to eat foods that are good for you rather than junk food or food that has very low nutritional value, and so that that you're sustaining your body in a much better manner. uh, the next one is clear feeling, and this is called clair sentience, and this is tied to the word also for clear emotional feeling. It's called clair empathy, but sentience is the word that I've used and I've heard most of the time. This is the part of you that will give you a warning when, like when you hear something and you know it's valuable, you go, oh my God, I've got goosebumps. Or somebody might say, oh my God, that the hair on my back of my neck is standing up, or you feel some semblance of fear and you know you have to get out of that situation. So that's really important. Clear knowing. This is called claircognizance. And claircognizance is, I feel, the gift that is opening up in a very, very big way. Because, especially in the United States, so much of our population is telling lies. It's just spreading lies and it's spreading fear. And there is a way of you being connected to the divine so that you don't buy into that, whatever it is that's not good for you. I heard this following little I don't know what do you call it, a poem, a phrase, a ditty, whatever it is, from a speaker at the national uh, the storytelling festival in Jonesboro in Tennessee, and he I memorized it because I absolutely love it, and it has to do with sentience, clear knowing. So this is what he said: there are those who know and know that they know. They are the teachers. There are those who don't know and know that they don't know. They are the students. There are those who know but don't know that they know. They are asleep. There are those who don't know and don't know that they don't know. They lead most of the governments of the world, which I felt was so right on. So anyway, that's all I want to say about clairsentience, but that is a gift that is being opened in us on a day by day basis, because you have to make a decision every single time you see something, every single time you hear something, every single time somebody says something to you. Is it related to truth, or is it something that's true but it has nothing to do with truth? So, because I mean, there are so many people walking around with this web of lies that is that they're entangled in, but they're spreading it as truth. So anyway, all right, couple more that I wanted to touch on: the clear touching is called tangency. And clear touching is just simply means that you can pick up something that somebody else owned and get characteristics of that person. Do one of two things: either go into a used like a used secondhand store like Goodwill, or go into an antique store and just pick up. This is a good test for yourself. Pick up something and pay attention and just ask to be made attuned to what that person was, or who that person was, or anything special about that person that owned this object that you're uh, is, especially if you're considering purchasing it. You don't want to take home something that has negative energy attached to it. So this is a way of kind of testing that. And that's another word for this, because there are groups that will practice it. It's called psychometry. So psychometry, a fun way of doing this is to get a group of people. You probably need 4 or 5 or 6. You can actually do it with one other person too, but 4 or 5 or 6 makes it just a little more festive. Have a box at your entrance. When everybody, as they walk in the door, have them just drop in an object in the box and not let somebody else uh, see it, so that this is all private. And then put the box in the middle of the table and have each person draw one object from the box. And then as they pick up the object, give the characteristics of that person. So obviously the object that you bring as a uh, participant in this group has to be, if it's not your object, it has to be related to somebody that you know very, very well. When I did this with a group of 6 women, the object I got was a little box just filled with trinkets, but they looked very precious. And as I described the feelings, it was like the gal was almost dumbfounded. The box belonged to her mother, and she loved to collect precious little things. And so that's what she brought in. And I just had this sense of a very doting, very loving person whose family meant everything to her and was just un um, always available to them. And the gal just said absolutely that that described her mother to a T. So and just by holding the objects and tuning into what your, tuning into the other senses that are coming through you, anything you're seeing, anything you're hearing, anything you're feeling, anything you're sensing. So anyway, and so that's called clairtangency or psychometry. The last one is clear smelling, and that's called clair salience. Clair salience. And the best example I can give you of clair salience is, I think it was within 6 months of my mother dying, of my mother passing, that my parents lived in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I was in Virginia. That I took my daughter um, and flew to my dad's home, and I slept in the bedroom that my mother had passed in. Two things happened to me. First, I saw an image of her. It was just a half a second of her, like fleetingly moving down the hall, and I in a dress that I know that was one of her first major purchases when she came to America, black but covered with like big red roses. And but the next day when I went into the bathroom to take a shower, I smelled her perfume, and I practically tore that bathroom apart looking for her perfume. It wasn't there, but yet I smelled it, and her perfume had such a distinct odor that there was no way that and yet there was absolutely zero evidence of it being there. But this was her way of trying to tell me she was okay. So and at that time I didn't recognize that, because I hadn't even though I should have been connected, in many ways I was disconnected from spirit. Okay, so that's the part I wanted to cover first and foremost. Next, we'll go over the physical parts that are related to this. The organs that are, and I'm going to go over 3 of them in depth. The organs that are related to the brow chakra, the nervous system, which is all stems from your spine and just moves up, but it reaches into the hypothalamus, which is at the base of your the top of your spinal cord. So the nervous system, the eyes, obviously, the ears, the nose. So all of you, if anybody has sinus infections, that's a brow issue. The endocrine system, the hormones that keep you healthy. And there's 7 major organs that are related to the endocrine system: the lymphatic system and the immune system. So in terms of the endocrine system, the pituitary and the pineal gland are the ones that are the most important here. Pituitary, all the doctors have a hold on that. They know what that's all about. Pineal, it's like they don't have a clue what that is. And I myself, and I think a lot of other spiritual teachers feel the same way, that the pineal is opening up and growing in every single person who is on this path, who is wanting to continue to understand more of their journey. The hypothalamus, which is at the top of the spinal column, produces the hormones in the brain. And the hypothalamus controls your body temperature, your heart rate, and your hunger. And every single system that I go through, when they, at the bottom, of course, everyone said to have a healthy lymphatic system, to have a healthy immune system, to have a healthy endocrine system. And you need to do, and all the recommendations were the same for every single one. 4 things. You need a balanced diet. You need good sleep habits. You need exercise, and you need stress management. I've recognized that when it comes to exercise, for me, feeling like if I just take a fast walk, well, it doesn't even have to be that fast, but it has to be consistent for 2 miles, that gives me the proper energy. Somebody else might just say, that would bore me to death. And, so, and somebody else might say, I can't walk. I have bad knees, or my ankles don't function properly, or my hips are off, or something or other. So exercise is I feel, as everything else, is a personal thing. Sleep. One of the things you have to determine when you decide when you're going to go to sleep is what time what is your optimum time to go to sleep? Don't try to stay up past that. There was, there's and I always forget this, but in Chinese medicine, there's a time that the liver is being cleansed. And if any one of you know when that is, but it's somewhere between 10 and 2, 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. And one family who are two young women who had just lost their mother. Once when I was talking to them about and I asked them, what did she die of? They said liver cancer. And they didn't quite understand it. But the time to cleanse the liver was in that 10 to 2 period. That woman never went to bed before 2 o'clock in the morning. So she never slept during the time when her liver would have been cleansed. And so it just, it was just heartbreaking to them, because she was just a lovely, lovely person. Liver as an organ is related to anger. And, people who are extremely angry, yes, I could understand them having liver problems, but a kind, gentle, loving, giving person, no. So then that was related to her sleep habit. Balanced diet, again, what one person likes, another person might hate. The thing that I encourage you to do, though, is find the foods that bring you energy, and make sure that you utilize those foods. I love avocados. Somebody else might say, oh, avocados are full of fat. I take half of one, and I go through a period where half an avocado on a slice of bread, and it's usually, it's not whole wheat, it's a sourdough bread. Makes my breakfast with a little bit of fruit and sometimes a hard-boiled egg, sometimes not. But I'll go through a period where I might have that for 2 months and then stop. And then, like, my current breakfast is a hard-boiled egg, a cluster of fruit, and half a bagel with cream cheese. So that seems to make me happy right at this moment. Stress management, understanding yourself doesn't mean that you have to choke back or let's say trying to, maybe let's find a better word for it, trying to be a good person that fits in, that doesn't make waves, doesn't mean you have to choke back every single thing that you want to say. If you feel that if you really express your opinion and it's going to cause heartache or it's going to cause a problem, uh, you know, if you have a uh, person around you that attacks everything you say, then you recognize very quickly that just to back off. But that doesn't mean that you might not be internally attacking yourself. So you have to find a way to work out the stresses of your life and not allow them to settle back into your body. Your stresses start in your auric field. They start in the major subtle bodies first. And then they move from one subtle body to the next, to the next, to the next. The physical body is the last to be affected. So just know that stress management, but is again, it's unique for each person, and you have to find your what is right for you. If you need 6 hours sleep, get 6 hours sleep. If you need 8 hours sleep, get 8 hours sleep. But you yourself know. I never set an alarm clock. I just tell my guides to wake me up. Only if I have to get up, especially early, will I set an alarm clock. Then, and most of the time, it's so intriguing to me because I've already told my guides when I need to wake up. They'll wake me up 5 minutes before the alarm goes off. So that, and under no circumstance should you have an alarm that's jarring. It should be delicate. It should, be harmonious with the functions of your body. So anyway, balanced diet. Well, we're not here to talk about nutrition, but balanced diet is super, super important too. You yourself might know what your weakness is. In my case, chocolate. I absolutely know that. We have no chocolate in the house except we have a bag of chocolate chips. Guess what I take? I'll take a handful of chocolate chips, put them in put them in a little, um, uh, just a little dessert glass, and take one or two at a time and let them melt in my mouth because they last longer and everything. But I sometimes laugh and I keep thinking, I would love to get rid of this desire for chocolate, but so far it's not happened. So anyway, all right, let's look at the lymphatic system. Lymphatic system is very closely related to your um, uh, circulatory system. But the circulatory system has a heart that pumps your blood, pumps everything, pumps the, blood going out into, the clean blood, the blood that's coming, circulating back to be cleaned, everything. The lymphatic system, and this is something I didn't know, that I found out, that I was very, very grateful to find out. For its movement, it relies on muscle movement. So this is where exercise is important. It relies on breathing. Deep breathing is important, and it relies on gravity. Now, what's so important about the lymphatic system? First of all, it starts in your brain, and it, at least the lymph nodes, start in your brain and at your knees. But the parts, the veining from the lymphatic system, there's practically no place that doesn't exist. That is your circulatory system. You can prick yourself at any point on your body and draw blood. So your circulatory system, your capillaries are everywhere. Lymphatic system almost follows suit. And the lymphatic system, why is it's so important? It carries waste products. It maintains your fluid balance, and it supports your immune defenses. The lymph vessels are a clear fluid, and what it does, its purpose is to remove the white blood cells that that are spent because the white blood cells were fighting a disease of some sort or invader in your body, and it takes proteins as waste products. If you have excess protein in your body and any other waste products, it moves that along. So its primary function is to balance your fluid, it's an immune defense, and it waste removal. So it has everything to do with detoxification. It also obviously supports your elimination system. So, but it supports the circulatory system. And since, like I said, it has no heart for pumping, it relies on your muscles for moving, it relies on deep breathing for moving, and it relies on gravity. So if you have a very sedate life, you're sitting in front of a computer all day long, and then you come home, and the only action that you might have is walking from your car to the house, maybe stirring, doing some movement around your kitchen, and then you plop down in front of the TV. Have you moved enough? And in most cases, people forget to breathe. They just absolutely forget to breathe. Or they breathe very, very shallowly. It's not that they're going to die, but from lack of breath. It's just that the breath doesn't go down deep enough. So anyway, to keep your lymphatic system healthy, the 4 things they recommend: stay active, hydrate, drink plenty of water, and decaffeinated tea qualifies as water. Any kind of clear soups qualify as water. Don't know about coffee. Haven't run into that. Even decaffeinated coffee, I think there's something in the coffee molecule that somehow prevents it from qualifying as water. But they also recommend a very gentle lymphatic massage, and they recommend deep breathing as just a natural pump. 2 things that I do for myself I have a massage every month, and I have acupuncture every month. And one of the things that I learned was that acupuncture also uh, enhances lymphatic flow. So that surprised me. That I had not a clue about that. Okay, immune system. Now, the parts that compose your immune system. This is critical because more and more and more and more, I see clients who say, I have an immune disease, or I don't feel good because my immunity is down. Um, I know my former neighbor, they lived here the first 10 years. We've been here 38 years. The first 10 years they lived here, and she was an absolute fanatic over pets. And as she grew older, she wanted to get into vet school. She was turned down 4 times, but she kept trying and she kept trying and she kept trying. Finally, she got in, but at the same time she got in, she came down with something I had never heard of before. It was called Still's disease. You heard of it? Oh, wow. Do you, Laura, can you tell us your experience with it?
I don't have experience with it directly, but
Or your experience?
I am aware of it as an autoimmune disease.
Okay, because I had never heard of it, and but it was her body, all her organs were being attacked, and they were attacking each other, and all I kept thinking of is this happened to her because she was so frustrated over not getting into um, vet school, because I mean, I knew that she would make a great vet. All that child did was love animals. She would bring home a stray dog, and she herself owned, as an adult, owned 4 dogs. But her parents told me that during college she would bring home a stray dog and expect her parents to keep it, and her parents said no, and then she threw a fit. But that's all she ever wanted to do was work with animals. Anyway, the long and short of it is the school did a magnificent job of accommodating her. If she needed 3 hours to take a test and the test time was an hour, they gave her 3 hours to take the test. So, I mean, they were so kind. She passed, she became a vet. She went through the program. She had opened a practice in California, and I think just recently moved to Tennessee. But I think she was in California for maybe the better part of 15 years. And she had such a great practice that people would come to her and ask specifically for her right from the beginning, because they saw how much care and love she gave these animals. So anyway, um, autoimmune problems seem to be happening across the board. All right, so the organs that compose your immune system. First is the bone marrow. What's important about the bone marrow? It produces your white blood cells, it produces your red blood cells, it produces your platelets. And the white blood cells are will carry oxygen. The white blood cells are the ones that fight off diseases and infections. Your red blood cells carry oxygen, and your platelets are part of your clotting. This is why hemophiliacs uh, don't have enough platelets. That's why it's called the bleeding disease. So that's the bone marrow. The other thing is the other organs are the spleen, the thymus, the tonsils, mucous membranes, and skin. Um, for the let's see. Okay, one thing about the white blood cells too that I kind of forgot. I knew they were very, very important, but they are almost um, like soldiers in your body because they look for invaders. They look to remove bacteria, viruses, and parasites and fungi. And they are just relentless in terms of fighting, fighting, fighting for you to get back into good health. Um, the antibodies, these are Y-shaped, Y, like capital Y, shaped proteins, and that again fight microbes and toxins and infectious disease. The complement system also are other proteins whose work complements the antibodies. They also fight infection, heal injury, and kill bacteria and viruses. So again, two types of protein that are so critical to your health. And this is where I know myself when I tried to become a vegetarian, forget it. That absolutely never worked for me. But I tried my best to become a pescatarian. So I would still have seafood, shrimp, scallops, fish. I lasted for a year and a half, and finally I just succumbed. I needed more protein. I needed a protein that wasn't available just in the fish and the seafood, and beans wasn't cutting it for me because I know my vegetarian friends or vegan friends all say that they get plenty of protein from their salad and beans. Didn't work for me at all. Um, okay,
Can you list them again after the platelets?
uh, the which one? The bone marrow, the white blood cells, red blood cells, and platelets.
I have those. And
Okay.
then you said it kind of fast, so I got lost after you listed them initially.
Oh, antibodies. Okay, the antibodies what are Y-shaped proteins and structures. Is that
Yes, I got antibodies, mucous membrane, skin, and then that was it.
mucous membrane, skin? Okay, I had tonsils, thymus, spleen. Did you get those? Those are all the organs that compose the immune system.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Okay, thymus, tonsils, yeah, skin. I actually didn't know that, again, skin um, was part of your immune system. That surprised me. But if you stop to think, people who have psoriasis, that's a skin disease. Whether you have psoriasis in your hair or whether it's on your skin. One woman I met over the weekend had psoriasis on her stomach and couldn't get rid of it no matter what, So okay, so what is the lymphatic system? I think I covered all of that. The spleen. Okay, so what does the spleen do? It's a blood filtering organ, and it destroys damaged red blood cells, and it makes disease fighting components. So the spleen puts out components that are going to be fighting disease. Interestingly enough, I didn't know this prior to this affecting my niece. She fell off a 20-foot ladder, landed straight on her feet, broke, oh, I can't remember. I know it was one of her legs ended up being broken because I think she landed more heavily on one leg, but she 4 or 5 years ago, she had a tumor growing on the back of her body that when they tried to remove it, they also had to remove 80% of her spleen. And yet, when she broke her leg and she had to be in a cast for 4 months and on crutches because she couldn't put any weight on that leg, even though her spleen there was only 20% left, that was still enough for her to function properly. You know, she didn't have any complications arise from the fact that she lost 80% of her spleen. So that astonished me. So anyway, okay, I think that's it on that part of it. So was there any other questions? Because Alyssa, I think I just went a little, I've been trying to go slower, but sometimes I don't realize that as I'm going through a list that it is too fast and everything, but you're okay with the rest of it.
Yes, I got it. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right, so the brow chakra is actually the brains of our body. And this is where, so I've gone over the physical components, and we're going to end with the two things. We're going to end with the emotional issues that are related to the brow chakra, and then we're going to end with the physical dysfunction of the brow chakra.
Quick question.
The what?
Alice, can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
You call it the brow chakra?
Yeah, brow. B-R-O-W.
B-R-O-W, and then it's also called the third eye.
The third eye, exactly.
Gotcha. All right,
Yeah,
thanks.
but for some
I
reason,
had never heard brow chakra.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody calls it the third eye, but yet
The third eye.
in the literature, for some reason, they want it to be known as the brow chakra rather than the third eye. So, but this is, but all the clairs that I went through in the beginning, that's all related to intuition, which is all related to the third eye, you know? So that kind of made me kind of, you know, I don't know. I guess there's two schools of thought. Some feel it shouldn't be called the third eye. Others feel it should be. So whatever. That's why I try to do both. Okay, emotional issues. Anything, and this is, again, I guess the best way to say it is just to say it. Anything related to truth that a person doesn't want to hear is part of the third eye or the brow chakra. Anything related to your intellectual ability, where you feel you are superior to everybody else, where you're not willing to listen to anybody else, where you're the one who says, I have all the answers, I alone can do it. That's related, that's a malfunction of the brow chakra. Anyone not willing to do a self-evaluation, not willing to look into themselves and say, this is okay. this, might need some improvement. Not willing to do that. Anybody who suffers from feelings of inadequacy, and that can show up in a myriad of ways. If you've ever had, I'm not sure why, it's not hypochondriac. If you've ever had a narcissist in your background, my first husband was a narcissist. I don't think I even heard the term or even knew what it meant when I married him to begin with. But they will attack. It doesn't matter what the issue is. It doesn't matter what they're going to find a way to make you wrong. And there was one time where I guess was in tears for the 2000th time and was crying, and he said, and the message coming from him was, well, you should throw out 75% of what I say. And I'm thinking, yeah, what 75%? And how do I determine, what to throw out and what not to throw out? So anyway, but feelings of inadequacy. If you are trying to overcompensate because somebody else has feelings of inadequacy and is attacking you for it, that's an issue with the brow chakra. If you're not open to any ideas that somebody else may have, anything, I mean, doesn't mean you have to swallow them, doesn't mean you have to accept them, just be open to them, just listen to them, and then evaluate what is right for you. If you're emotionally frozen and refuse to learn anything from others, just saying that they don't know anything, only I somehow or other, get it right. If you haven't seen it yet, this is a new series that was just released. It only has, I think, 5. It's either 4 or 5 that sessions. So you can easily, if you watch one session a day, you can easily watch it in a week. But it's called Adolescence. And it's about a 13-year-old who is accused of murder. And the scene from the psychiatrist in there at the end, in the last day, is absolutely unbelievable, because she uses the words, I want to understand what you understand. And she uses that over and over and over, because he is sometimes willing to share with her what he did, but she wants to get to the bottom of why he did this. The young man who plays the 13-year-old is actually, I think the movie is up for 12 Emmys, and there's a possibility that he'll be put up for an Oscar nomination, even though he's so young. But just fantastic, because the premise is bullying. And I know that my sister was a teacher first, and then a principal second, and now she's the CEO of a corporation that she wants to put into place that fights bullying, absolutely is anti-bullying. And she wants it to be in every grade school. She wants it to be in every middle school, every high school. She's having a tough time getting it off the ground. But she has a great idea. She just doesn't have the curriculum yet. And I think without a curriculum, it's hard to convince anybody to, it's like you don't know what to offer them. You can't say, you can't show them something tangible, as to what you're going to offer. But anyway, the long and short of it is that she witnessed firsthand, probably more than any other member in my family, the effects of bullying, because she was in a grade school in one of the, well, she took it from the lowest performing school in all the counties in Michigan to one of the highest performing schools. So anyway, but she managed to, I think, eradicate bullying in her school. Okay, we're just going to finish with physical dysfunctions. You can, with the physical things that can happen to you as a result of malfunction in the brow chakra, the third eye. First and foremost, the most traumatic, brain tumor. Interestingly enough, the two people we know that died of brain tumors that are was Ted Kennedy and Beau Biden. Both of them had brain tumors. Then the second is hemorrhaging or a stroke. The third is neurological disturbances. Then comes blindness, deafness, full spinal difficulties. And I think MS, is it MS or Parkinson's that you lose, cerebral palsy, that you lose control of your, I think it's cerebral palsy, you lose control, you lose all muscular control. So full spinal difficulties, learning disabilities, and seizures. So those were the physical dysfunctions. And I know that was a lot to take in. When I did the research on it, I thought, wow, I had always kind of thought that the brow chakra was just related to my opening statements on the clairs. And I thought it was just about intuition, but has by far more to do than intuition. So I really thank you for being here. For it's at times I felt this is quite a a trip through kind of like slogging through this stuff, but I feel it, to me, it's very, very important, because I hope that that it has something in it that helps you navigate your life, navigate you through life and everything. So, and I learned a few things that I had no idea were related to the brow chakra. And that was one of my reasons for doing this series, is I felt there was so much stuff that's out there that's related to the chakras that we never get to talk about because there's no time, and I know when I teach, I touch lightly upon the chakras when I teach Reiki, but I never get into the depth. And that was one of the reasons I was so adamant about doing this. And next year, I figured out that I'm going to talk about crystals as they complement and enhance the chakras, but maybe 3 crystals at the most, maybe 4 or 5, going from chakra to chakra. So concentrating on the qualities of those crystals. So, but anyway, but we still have the brow chakra to go through. I'm sorry, we still have the crown chakra to go through. And then I think at the end, My last one will be readings for the audience. So I just really appreciate you being